A friend of mine sent me a DM through Facebook the other day asking me my thoughts on sex positive parenting. And I thought that was an excellent topic to bring up because sexuality really does start at home with parenting. And I actually have a lot to say on this matter. Welcome to my Broken to Brave podcast. I'm Donna Barnes. I think sex positive parenting is essential in helping young teens 11 to 14-ish years old because information is power, right? Knowledge is power. You hear that all the time. My best friend and I have talked about this a lot. She does have kids. They're now adults, but when they were kids, we talked about this a lot. And we both said where we made our biggest mistakes was for lack of information. And honestly, my mother was from the Depression era, and her whole idea of sex was just don't. I was like, thanks, Mom. That's helpful. Meanwhile, in fifth grade, I had a health class where they told us about a girl's menstrual cycle. My jaw was on the floor. I had no idea because my mother had never told me, right? And I don't fault her. Her mother probably never told her either. Parents do the best that they can. But that's why I thought it was a good idea to talk about this, because you have the power to empower your young teens, both boys and girls. Because honestly, one of my favorite clients was this beautiful 15-year-old girl whose widowed father had hired me and said, she's asking me questions that I don't know how to answer, right? So yeah, and I actually went to their apartment, which is something that I didn't normally do, but he let me in, and then he went and sat in another room, and she waited and watched till he was gone. And she said to me, all boys want is sex. And I said, yeah, of course they do, but that doesn't mean you need to give it to them, right? And I really laid out for her, really, and the whole stupid biology of girls and boys is that a boy hits his sexual peak at 18. So his hormones are raging and wanting to have sex and wanting to hook up with people. And what I said to this particular beautiful young girl, she was 15. I said, if you have sex with a guy, he's going to tell all his friends because he's going to be so excited that he got to have sex. And then they're going to want to have sex with you because then they're going to say, oh, well, she'll do that. I want to do that too. And you're not going to know if they really like you and really want to be with you, or if they just want you because they think you'll have sex with them. And she was like, I don't want that. And she was so cute too. She was like, can I take notes? Right. So honestly, to that point, if you don't want to have this conversation with your children, I'd be more than happy to talk to them for you, because this poor girl's mother had passed and she had lots of questions. And boy, do I wish I could have talked to the now me when I was 15, right? Because trial and error, that's not something you want to trial and error. And really just a whole other level of your exploration of things, and kids talk and kids say things and then you don't really know what it means, and knowledge is power. So I am a big fan of talking to your kids intimately about making good choices, protecting themselves, making good partner choices, and not being promiscuous. And just there's a whole host of things that go on. You don't know what you don't know. And you don't want your child not knowing if they're now in a position with another, kid that is coming onto them and not knowing how to handle it and being caught off guard and then in an uncomfortable situation, which is what usually happens. And geez, honestly too, like what I had said to this young girl is that how you have your first time can make or break sex for the rest of your life. Unfortunately, people who are attacked and raped and molested and all sorts of other stuff, that's their first experience, which changes it for the whole rest of their life for them. If you've done your best to protect your child from predators and pedophiles and all that kind of stuff, why would you stop now? They need you most now, really, because you don't know what you don't know. And it's really important that they know what they need to know when they're going to start being in intimate situations with other teens, really, and even adults, right? Because there are always adults that are trying to get with kids. So, teaching boundaries is a big piece of sex positive parenting, in having the boundary to say no when you don't really want to do something, and having the boundary to say, yeah, I like this. This is what I like. I'm a big fan of sex positive parenting because I think being in the dark about something that important is not helpful. And I absolutely can, I don't want to air all of my dirty laundry, but a much younger me made choices that I am not happy with because I didn't know any better, right? And that's exactly what I'm hoping to avoid by if you talk to your children about it, or child, or, and I'm not just talking about young girls, I'm talking about young boys too, because again, you don't know what you don't know. And, geez, boys aren't talkers like girls are. Girls tend to talk more than men do, or boys, right? If one kid did now have sex with somebody and he's telling them, then that's where they're getting their information from. I mean, honestly, that, like, when I was still in elementary school, a girlfriend of mine had a sexual experience and came over to my house, and me and my other girlfriend, she sat and told us in detail the whole thing. And again, jaw on the floor. And yeah, unfortunately, that particular girl wasn't a good example. It should come from you. You can control how your child explores sex because they're going to. I mean, here's the whole thing. My mother's whole thing was just don't. Yeah, thanks, Mom. That's helpful, right? Because you're going to. You're going to. They're going to at some point. So you can't stop that. You can empower them and inform them. And look, I dated a really wonderful man just recently who was widowed and had a beautiful 16-year-old daughter. He had confided in me that he was a virgin when he got married. And I asked him how old he was. He said 30. So he very, very Christian, very much believed in no sex before marriage. And there are still people that believe that. But honestly, I think in today's world, that's a little bit the exception, not the norm. And I said this to him. I really think you're better off giving them the information, all of the information, and letting them make the decision that is best for them. And I know you're the parent, you're going, I know what's best for my child, but with all due respect, no, you don't. No, you don't. You really don't, especially as they come into a teenager. And you're much better served creating a safe environment and a safe landing space that your teen or tween feels comfortable to come to you and talk to you about stuff. Because honestly, my father, I could talk to about things, right? There was so many things that I talked to my father about that he'd say, don't tell your mother, right? But I had that landing thing, right? And God, my father was an amazing man. So I was blessed with that, right? But you can be that for your kid, giving them the comfort to come to you with questions that are difficult rather than going to their friends who don't know anything better than they do, really, or got the information third hand from some bad situation, right? So I'm a big fan. I think sex positive parenting, is essential in your child growing up to have healthy relationships later in life. Right? Because to that point, my mother's whole idea was just don't. And I never got married. I didn't find the love of my life and have kids with them. Right? So it matters. Leave me your comments. What do you think? Believe in sex positive parenting? Do you not? Do you hate the idea? Do you believe in waiting until marriage? What are your thoughts? What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave me your comments and like my video, if you will. So yeah, I really appreciate when people reach out to me with ideas for podcasts. So if you have an idea, leave me a comment. I'd love to know, or DM me on any of my platforms. So like my video, leave me your comments. I'm here for coaching. If you need help or your tween or teen needs help, I have coached young kids and I'm sensitive. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next episode.